What makes the Badlands so bad? Last time we learned how Alberta wound up with this unique landscape. Today we'll see what that meant for us and the animals and plants that call them home. So put yourself in the leather shoes of a French explorer as they forged west in the 1700s. You've grown used to this relatively easy going of the rolling prairies when all of a sudden you have to cross this, a maze of steep mesas, valleys, canyons, and sinkholes built of unstable mudstone and sandstone, and expanses of particularly nasty popcorn rock, which can be viciously sharp when dry, and worse, melts into mud as slippery as ice when wet. Winters here are freezing and windy, summers are searing and dry, most water sources are mostly mud. So not much of a surprise that those French explorers declare them les mauvais terres à traverser, bad lands to cross. They often get credit for the name we still use today. But they'd actually just cribbed it from the Lakota, whose territory in what is now the Midwestern United States included a ton of badlands, and who'd had at least 3,000 years to get acquainted with just how bad they could be. They'd always called them Meko Sika, literally bad lands, near impossible to traverse, pointless for agriculture. Archaeological evidence suggests seasonal hunting, but we've never had the nerve to try and use them for a permanent settlement. And the Badlands are just as bad for any flora and fauna willing to brave them. They're not technically a desert, but they're about as close as Canada gets to one, and they share a lot of species built for that extreme environment. Sage and cacti cling to the barren ground, rattlesnakes and scorpions eke out survival from the meager resources, and as striking as the few species you do see is how much you don't. 360-degree views without a single foraging creature or hardy plant poking out of the parched ground. A barren, dead place. But there is one vibrant exception to that rule. The narrow riparian zone along the banks of the few permanent rivers and streams. It's as though the full complement of Badlands life crowded into these tiny but hyper-productive areas. Along the Red Deer River, towering cottonwoods hang over a heavy underbrush, but even at the banks of smaller streams, crowded plant life provides shelter and food for 165 species of birds. And grazing space for mule deer. They handle the often barren territory by eating absolutely anything, a recorded 788 species of plants. Life hangs on to the Badlands in the fringes and by way of extreme specialization. That, along with the stark beauty of the terrain, would already make them a destination. But to leave it there would be ignoring the Albertosaurus in the room. So next time we'll learn about the most famous animals in the Badlands. Because in fact, you could say that the whole area is absolutely teeming with wildlife, provided you gloss over that it's been dead for 75 million years.